Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the pits of Motor Chaos. This is your host, Dave. I got a line live all the way from Canada. Jay Mageau, Nostalgia Nitro Funny Car Driver. How's it going, Jay?
Great. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, Jay. So, how's the weather out in Canada?
Sorry?
How's the weather in Canada?
Oh, it's doing winter now. We got snow. We've got snow for about a month already. That's the worst thing about being a drag racer in Canada is you got 7 months of off season.
Well, it's cold over here in Illinois too. It's 21 degrees right now.
Oh yeah, that's getting cold too.
Yeah.
You guys are pretty close to Canada. You're in Illinois, aren't you?
Nah, not really.
Huh.
So how did your whole career begin in drag racing, Jay? How'd you get into drag racing?
Oh, I'm one of those guys that grew up at the track. My dad started racing in 1965, and I just started going out there with him as a little boy, and it kept going. I started driving race cars when I was 16, and I'm 54 now, so I can't do the math, but it's a long time.
Yeah. So what was your first race car?
First race car was, a good friend of mine was driving his dad's dragster when I was 15. And my dad had a top alcohol dragster when I was 15, and I kind of hoped that I was going to be driving it when I turned 16. But it didn't really work out. So I went racing with some friends of my dad's, the Polak brothers. They own a GM dealership up here in Alberta. And they had a little car, 65 Chevelle wagon with a small block Chevy in it, and a Power Glide, and it was a race car. It ran 12s at the time at 120, I guess. But I'll tell you, for a 16-year-old kid, I thought that was about the baddest hombre on earth.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I drove for them for 4 or 5 years, off and on, and then I got married, and a bunch of things happened all at once. We lost our local track, the old Edmonton International Speedway, and so the only racing was you had to travel, and you had to travel quite a ways. And at this point, being a newlywed with new little babies, we didn't have much money. So I had about an 8-year retirement before our new track finally opened. And I think that was 91. I'm not real clear, but I ran Monte Carlo in street class the first year. Just to make sure I still love doing it. Sure enough, I sure did. So the following winter, we built a 75 Nova and ran it in Sportsman, Trade Sportsman. And we tinkered with that for a bit and picked her up into Super Pro for a couple of years. And then I bought an Altered out of Montana, which we ran Super Comp with and local brackets. And we ran that for a few years, and we ended up going blown alcohol with that car. And it was my first opportunity to run an alcohol operation. My dad came on board. He helped me out. He had the experience, and financially, I needed help to get going. He came on board, and we ran that black alcohol Altered for a couple of seasons, and it was running good, and we were doing well with it, but I was running into the situation that tracks weren't booking Altereds. This was Alberta, Western Canada. It couple of years of running unaltered, we were having a beer at the shop and said, wow, if we could do any funny car on Earth, what would it be? And I remembered old Tom McEwen's 57, and took a lot of months, but I finally found the mold and had one molded up for me. George Sitko put that body on top of his pickup truck and drove it all the way from LA up into northern Alberta for us. And so along with that new body came a new chassis and a whole bunch of other new stuff. And we ran that car for, I think, about 8 years. And it ran well, won a lot of stuff with that thing. But the challenge was going away, so the next step was we put it on nitro, with a Hemi. And wow, that was a wicked experience. At the time, nobody up here was doing it, and so I couldn't go to anybody who could hold our hands and say, you got to do this and you got to do that. So we promptly went out the first year and blew up everything, including the trailer. But Ron Hodgson, at the same time, built a nostalgia nitro car that was patterned after the bubble up car from the 70s. Terry Cap was driving it. And Hodgson had Roland Leong and Gord Jenner helping him on the car. And Ron kind of introduced us to Roland and arranged for Roland to hold our hands for a year and just give us the basics so that we'd stop pulling it up. And that was, I think, almost 10 years ago now. Definitely going faster, making more noise, still blowing it up. I don't think it matters who you have in your pit; they blow up.
What made you come up with the name Prospector?
Oh, my dad's his first race car was NHRA T-Stock. It was a 57 Chev, and it was called Prospector, and it was orange. And when it came time to build our first funny car, and when we decided to make it a 57 Chev, I was going to do kind of a tribute to McEwen, but I also thought it would be really great if I could do a tribute to my dad. So it ended up getting painted orange and being called the Prospector.
Nice. So with the Prospector funny car, what's been the quickest ET you've had with that car?
I'm sorry?
What's been the quickest ET you've had with the funny car?
Well, we're not those 550 and 560 guys. We have to run it very safe all the time. So the best we've ever run is a 592 at 237.
So nowadays, are there a lot of nitro funny cars out there in Canada?
There's half a dozen in Western Canada that I can think of. In the Edmonton area where we are based out of, Hodgson still is here. Tim Boychuk is based out of Edmonton here. Sitko family with their new Arctic Traveler Mustang, they're based out of here. And then we've got some new guys in the wings coming in. A fellow named Corey Kincaid, who's a longtime alcohol racer. Another fellow who had sort of mild success in alcohol racing with a series of cars called the Reaper in alcohol. Dave, he's going to be coming on nitro. And there's some other guys in southern Alberta But we're having a lot of, like myself, we're having a lot of indecision, I think, in already the nostalgia nitro class. If you want to run NHRA and you want to run it legal, it's really getting expensive. And, so I think a lot of guys are looking at the outlaw stuff and, the fuel altereds. And I'm one of them. I want to keep racing. So, I'm questioning whether we can stick with the NHRA stuff or if we maybe have to do an outlaw thing. We started building a Fiat fuel altered last year, which will be done in the spring, but I don't know. We'll just have to see what cards get played out.
Now, has there ever been any plans to, run the funny car as a fuel altered? Change the bodies?
Yeah, we only have one chassis, so I'm going to end up with all kinds of options. We still have our old 57 body in the rafters. The crew guys don't like running it. The fans love it when we run it, but the crew guys hate it because it's so damn heavy. It takes 73 guys to lift that thing off that car. And we have a Corvette that we primarily run, and it's so much lighter. The crew guys sort of like it, although I'm pretty sure they're going to love the Fiat because it doesn't weigh anything.
Right. So now, how did you run this season? How'd you do?
We had a marginal season. Unfortunately, again, we have to run things really, really safe. We can't travel very far because we're all volunteer and we're all working shifts. So we don't get to put a lot of laps on. And laps is where you get your knowledge. But it's expensive, It's probably maybe $1,500 a run now to make a pass. So the fuel up here is absurd. Last summer they were trying to nail us for $2,300 for a barrel of fuel, and a weekend of testing, 4 to 6 hits maybe a barrel and a half of fuel. Whew. That'll go to $10,000 if you hurt anything. And I think we had a mediocre season. We didn't blow anything up, so that's a bonus. Did go on fire, that's a bonus. Had fun, that's a bonus, but didn't get to race very much.
So how many events did you do?
We did 3 only last year. And usually we do 6 or 8. Part of the problem is when we do a lot of match racing with our friends in the Sitko family. And young Nathan, they crashed the car at the end of 2017 in Spokane, and they totaled it. So they've been busy building this new car for the last year, but it left us without a match race partner, so it makes it really difficult to book, nitro match races with one car.
Right. That's why you were telling me you're hoping to get Courtney's car into nitro one day.
Well, if I could put it all together, it would just be the greatest thing if we could have 2 nitro cars in the same trailer. I've said that for years. If you could make it happen, try and keep all the stuff as close to the same as possible, especially in our market where the tracks are few and far between, really far between. And, they're not going to have 8-car shows. It's pretty rare. There's only a few tracks in Western Canada that will attempt to have a bigger show. But there's a half a dozen small market tracks where we could show up with 2 cars in the trailer and have our own show, Chevy versus Ford, or Dad versus Daughter, or Red versus Blue, whatever you want. And that would be, I think it would be pretty marketable. But we're not there yet.
Yeah, it all boils down to money.
It does. We're getting closer. Courtney isn't so excited about doing nitro yet. We changed her car halfway through the season to a Hemi last summer, or this past summer. So it's getting closer. You know, we put a steel motor plate in it and a giant fuel tank and a big dry sump, just so that if the opportunity comes along, we can change that one over, or she can just drive by, and I'll retire.
So now, how many gallons is your fuel pump?
We're on NHRA legal, so we're allowed 21 gallons. You know, you have to send them in and get them flowed, and then they seal them and tag them so that you can't mess with them. So, you know, you just can't lean on the car very much with a 21 gallon, because it'll eat pistons at the other end. You can experiment with, a lot of guys run smaller cubic inch engines. There's a whole lot of ways to skin the same cat. What's interesting is the outlaw guys that are fooling around with 34-gallon tune-ups. They're getting lots of fuel, so they're not having the piston problems that we have run after run. I think they have, you know, even worse problems if things go haywire in their tune-up. But I've been yakking with a lot of guys, and a lot of them say once you get the tune-up sorted out, it's a better deal. But it's pointless if no one else around here is going to do it.
Right. Now, do you ever run any events in the States?
Really occasionally. It's 7 hours just to get to the Montana border. So to travel anything beyond Spokane and Seattle, those are the only Spokane, Seattle, and the Yellowstone Raceway in Montana. Those are our only American tracks that we ever hit. A lot of my friends, you know, they'll tow down farther, but it's just it's such a huge expense to get ourselves down to Bakersfield or Vegas that you're doing it for fun. And right now, we don't have the money to do it for fun.
Yeah, hopefully, maybe one of these days, that funny car chaos event will make it to Seattle or, you know, Spokane.
Yeah, that looks like a blast. Oh, I should say, not to insult our friends up in Alaska, but we also raced up there. Which, believe it or not, even from Alberta, which is in northern Canada, it's farther to the Alaska racetrack from my house than it is to Bakersfield. Wow, freaking beautiful though, I'll tell you. Nicest track I've ever been to. It's just drop dead gorgeous. If any of your racers are listening to this and you ever have an opportunity to do a once in a lifetime trip, go there. It's just unbelievably beautiful. They got a giant snow-capped mountain at the end of the racetrack, and the fans are great, and the racers are great. The management of the track is great. It's just a great place.
Wow, drag racing in Alaska, huh?
Yeah, you know, they got a heated track to keep it from getting frost heaved throughout the winter.
Wow.
Which is something that affects all the northern tracks. You know, they get bumps and lumps in them from the cold. And that track's pretty smooth up there.
That's pretty neat.
I think the smoothest track in Canada, our home track here at Casper Raceway, they put a lot of work into that track, a lot over the years, and we've got one of the best track guys going, who he runs the drag strip, Mike Heil. That's a great racetrack. We're comparatively high altitude at 3,300 feet uncorrected, but he makes a nice flat racetrack. Another one is Mission Raceway, just outside of Vancouver, just over the border from Washington State. That one's just awesome too. That one doesn't get all the frost heaves that the rest of us get.
Now, going back to Funny Car Chaos, I know that they're like this next year they're going to be expanding to like more tracks, because they had four tracks this year, and they're looking to get. They already added 2, I think, for next year, so they got 6 so far. 6 events. I think they're going to add a couple more though. But I think every year they're just going to keep growing more and more of those. Yeah.
We watched from afar. We tried to keep track of what was going on with that. Looking at stuff on Facebook and the internet. It's an 8th mile, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to save us small pump guys. You should be able to lean on the bed and not burn up pistons. It looks like they're having a blast at these things, and they're doing some great promotion.
Yeah, it's pretty nice that you could bring whatever you want with any kind of funny car. Doesn't matter, big show funny car, alcohol, nostalgia, whatever you want to bring, long as it has a funny car body on it.
Yeah, it's good, and it's really good to see a new group come along and be successful in their marketing and promotion. And they got a lot of press over their first year last year?
No, the year before was the first year, but they only ran one event the first year in 2016.
Well, they're creating lots of chatter, so that's a good thing. The small market tracks that they're going to, as long as the people support the race program, it's great. I'd love to go down there and take a whack at some of those guys.
Yeah, 2017, Chris Graves started it in Texas, at the one track in Denton, Texas, and then this year he added 3 more, which was 2 in Texas and 1 in Illinois and 1 in I forgot where it was, somewhere like by Missouri or something like that. But yeah.
Huh. I've only been to the Illinois area once, and it wasn't to race. It actually was to pick up a race trailer. But it's not an impossible tow, but it's still, I think, 20 hours, maybe 18 hours for us to get that far.
Yeah, there was supposed to be a alcohol funny car from Canada and funny car cast this year, but he never made it out though. He drives Anthill Mob funny car.
Oh yeah, Anthill Mob.
Yeah, Aiden, this driver, I interviewed him. Aiden Heasley.
Aiden Heasley Smith, yeah, and his dad is Smack Smith.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, great guys. I did meet them one time, but I don't think they know. I went down to Rockingham once, and they were there, and I talked to them, but I haven't raced against them. East and West racing in Canada just doesn't happen. The racers in Western Canada will drive to Vegas, Los Angeles, all over the place to go racing, but Western Canadian racers traveling into Ontario or Quebec to race, that's pretty rare. And vice versa. We rarely see Eastern cars over
Yeah,
here.
he was all excited to come to Funny Car Cast too, but I don't know what happened. He didn't make it.
But I think they're going through some changes. I follow them on Facebook, and I see that they've got some new stuff and got some stuff for sale, but I can tell that they're real drag racers, so they'll get there.
Yeah. So now, besides your dad being inspirational to you to getting into drag racing, were there any? I'm sure Tom McCune was one of your big influences. Anybody else?
Oh, for sure, the Gooses was huge in my life. A lot of racers were big. Growing up in the 70s, you know, all the big hitter guys, they came to Edmonton back in those days. But without a doubt, my biggest racing hero is Big Daddy. You know, I think Big Daddy is just the greatest guy. Humble and talented, and, you know, he could have raced a dirt car on a drag strip and still set records with it. And pretty awesome guy. Another guy I really looked up to was 240 Gordy Bonnin. He was from our region, and 240, he made some noise in the big show in the 70s and a little bit in the 80s. Terry Cap here out of Edmonton, he was a good friend of my dad's, and I guess I could say he's a friend of mine too. Always looked up to him. But also, people I look up to are local guys that are just... I look up pretty much to anybody who I consider a real racer. People that they kind of live it, you know. Not so much guys that come in and just buy everything and away they go. I mean, that's great. But there's so many people out there who race and they love it, and it's part of their lives. And they keep going when even though they're struggling, and even though they maybe aren't ever going to be famous or heroes, they just do it because they love the sport. Those are the kind of people I look up to.
All right, now, what was the experience like for you, Jay, to get behind the wheel of a nitro funny car for the first time?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. I
said, what was the experience like for you to get behind the wheel of a nitro funny car for the first time ever?
Well, I imagined it in my mind about 1 million times over my lifetime, and it wasn't what I expected. It was the same car that I'd driven on alcohol, so maybe that helped a little bit because I wasn't uncomfortable in the car. I've been driving that car already for quite a few years. But I was a little afraid the first time we did it. And they fired the thing and they closed the body. And I looked at all my crew guys. You know, you have to wait until the crew chief tells you to roll forward. I looked at all my crew guys, and they were all looking absolutely terrified. Which wasn't helping me at all. But the first pass was uneventful. It was just like a 3/4 track kind of thing. It left kind of like the alcohol car did. It was sort of weird to step off the freaking clutch pedal before you stage. That's not something I was used to. But I think the biggest change was when you hit the 1-2 shift at near half track. Wow, that's when you know that you're in a different beast. That sucker just plants you and shakes and rumbles, and man, it's awesome. I'm getting excited.
So do you remember what your in your first time running a nitro car? You remember what your speed was the first time? What was your ET?
I don't remember the first pass because we were just testing.
Right.
I know the first full run that we made, it ran a 680 or 202, which was that was pretty cool. It was my first 6-second run. I managed to get my first 6-second and my first 5-second out of the same car. I don't know if I'm ever going to get a 4-second unless we go 8th mile.
So now, Jay, when you take the funny car out, how many crew members do you have, and who are all your crew members?
We try to run the car with 6 people and a driver. When we're at the track with both cars, my daughter's alcohol car and our nitro car, it's 10 crew and 2 drivers, which is getting a little bit crazy. One of the things that the fellows that are promoting the 34-gallon outlaw stuff, one of the things they told me is once you get your tune-up straightened out, you don't necessarily need to have such a big crew all the time. They want you to be able to turn the thing around between rounds. And currently in NHRA small pump trim, if you're trying to go fast, you're pulling pistons out of it probably every run. Sometimes you might go 1 or 2 runs without taking the pan off, but not in my experience. So if you can get past that step, you could reduce your crew by about half.
So who are your main crew members?
Currently I have Lance. Lance has been with us the longest. Oh man, I don't even know how long he's been with us. I think at least 10 years. James has been on the team for a long time too. At least 6 years. Got a young fellow named Cole on the team who's been with us for a few years. I've got a whole bunch of supporting guys, friends and family that have come out with the team and helped out and still do. We got if we just wrote down all the names of all the people that help us, it would be a hell of a long list.
Now, do you currently have any sponsors?
Yeah, our biggest sponsor is Castor Oil. They came on with us 10 years ago now, and they've been very good. Couldn't do it without them. We've got some smaller sponsors with Champion Spark Plugs, and then some local companies have come and gone, including the company I work for, Eco Medical. They help out. We're always looking for sponsors. It's we just can't do this out of our pocket, and but you got to still try. So we're constantly looking for sponsors. It's a tough sell in Western Canada, but the day that we actually get a decent sponsorship, man, we're going to do some racing, boy. I'll tell you.
Yeah. So now, when you get ready for a weekend of drag racing with this funny car, what goes in the preparation to get the funny car ready for a weekend of drag racing?
Well, at this level, you work on them way more than you ever get to race them. We try to do the vast majority of the prep for the next weekend at the track. We figured out years and years ago that the car is at the track at the end on Sunday afternoon, and everybody's tired and wants to go home because they're hungover or tired and worn out. But the car is sitting there and all the tools are out, and we started getting a little proactive with our maintenance, and we do it right then and there. Unless there's a hole in the block, that car will be prepped ready to go for the next race before it goes back in the trailer. And then we don't have to try to rustle everybody up throughout the week and get them back. So as long as nothing's really terribly wounded,
Hello? Yeah, there you are.
Sorry, man. I don't know what happened.
All right, now what were you saying?
Edmonton, Alberta.
No, I said before you got cut off, what were you talking about?
Oh, man, you're breaking up now. Sorry, try that one again.
I said before you got cut off, what were you talking about?
Oh, we were just saying, our pre-race prep. It takes about 2.5 hours to set the car up for the next track that we're going to. Again, it's nothing's really badly hurt. If you put a hole in the block or some darn thing, well, that changes everything. And my guys are awesome, because we have two cars, we seem to go every year with having one major thrash on one of the cars. 2 years ago, the nitro car had a fire at night in Edmonton, and it burned pretty good. Put a hole in the block and burned up all the cables and computer stuff and fuel lines. Quite a bit of stuff got wrecked. So that one was a strip the car down to bare chassis and put it back together. We burned it on a Wednesday night, and we were at the next track, which was 10 hours away on Saturday morning for the next race. And we didn't sleep much, but that's just the dedication of our crew. They're just great for that. They love the sport as much as I do, and they put their hearts into it.
No, I got a friend named George. He wanted me to, cause he left me a message. He told me to tell you to make a nitro wheel stander.
Nitro wheel stander?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
He said a nitro wheel stander, and then put the big fuel pump like Tom Mochi's, the Jurassic Plastic fuel altered with the big flames coming out, big header flames.
Oh yeah. Don't know anything about that.
He said if you build that, he'll come out all the way from Wisconsin here all the way to Canada and videotape you.
It's a deal. We'll do it.
Yeah, that would be kind of interesting, though. See a nitro wheel stander.
Yeah, I like the big pump idea. They throw lots of fire out of the pipes, and they make lots of noise, and they go pretty damn quick. Yeah. And that seems exciting, as long as other people are doing it.
Have you ever watched videos of like Joe Lawson from here in the States?
Who? Austin?
No, Joe Lawson. He drives a funny car called him and
the green Firebird, isn't it?
Yeah, they got the green one, and the orange one, match racing all the time.
Oh, that thing is just wicked, just nasty and wicked. I love it.
Yeah, Joe Lawson and Joe Haas, the two match racing guys. Yeah.
Yeah. I know about those guys, and man, that is some cool stuff that they're doing.
Yeah, those header flames are something else, man. Maybe, who knows, maybe one day you'll have those big header flames.
Well, you get that big sponsor, and they might be even bigger. Because it was always my life goal to run in the big show once or twice, but I don't know, I'm 54, I think I'm running out of time.
No. Now, Jay, where do you get all your fire safety equipment from?
When I get out of my fire suit, what?
No, where do you purchase all your fire safety equipment from?
Oh, well, we don't have any sponsorship help with our fire stuff or our safety equipment, so I get it from, whoever we can get some from. We've got some DJ stuff, and we got some Taylor equipment, and I think I even got some Simpson stuff and an Impact helmet. I'm just a mishmash of everything.
So, now, Throughout your drag racing career, Jay, have you reached any milestones?
Yeah, some good stuff's happened. I've been pretty blessed. I've been so blessed to get to spend my whole life racing. You know, I complain that I'm not doing it the way I want to do it, but man, I'm blessed anyways. I've had great life racing, and I won a lot of stuff, and I've met almost all my goals that I ever set for myself. You know, I won a Wally and won a couple of Wallies and won 3 IHRA national event guys, and you know, probably I've only got 1 or 2 goals left right now. I'm really spending most of my thoughts on my daughter and you know, getting her. She's got the sickness real bad for the sport, and we've been helping her getting going in the funny car. Honestly, I screwed up when I chose the motor program for her, and so she had to learn how to drive a funny car with a shit engine program. But we got a Hemi in there now with a pedal clutch and a good old Lenko, and she's going to start making some laps and getting more competitive than she has been. And that's, right now, that's the funnest thing for me, is standing there on the starting line and watching my kid go down the track. Scary, but sure makes me happy.
Now, is Courtney your only kid?
Courtney is, she's my youngest of 4 daughters. My kids all grew up junior drag racing. They all grew up at the track. And as they came of age, you know, around 16 years old, we asked them if they wanted to continue in racing. And the first 3 said no. They wanted to do other things. But Courtney was like, well, yeah. So she came out of juniors, and after a couple of years, we put her in a little bracket dragster, and she did well. It took her a year and a half to kind of really drive the car properly, but she won a national event with that car, and she got a lot of confidence after that. And in no time, she's at my trailer, or it seemed like no time, and saying, geez, you know, I wouldn't be afraid to drive a funny car if we had one. So that was the end of the dragster.
So now, throughout your drag racing career, have you had any accidents or close calls?
Yeah, I've never been on my lid, you know, which I consider to be a bad accident. Had a couple of fires over the years and broke all kinds of stuff and stopped in the middle of the racetrack. I've been off the end a few times. You know, been up to the...
I think we lost him again, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, Jay, you still there? The time is still going on the phone call, but he's nobody there.
I don't know if you heard any of that.
Oh, yeah, there you are. I lost you. I didn't hear it.
So no big crashes for me.
Yeah, I totally lost you. All I heard was dead air.
Oh, in my racing career, I've never had a big crash. Just been off the end a couple times and the odd fire, you know, stuff like that. But got close lots of times. But I'd like to think that, you know, I know a lot of accidents you can't avoid, but I'm too cheap to keep my foot down when things start to go haywire. And I think that's a pretty significant part of not crashing, is getting out of it when it's time to get out of it.
So how many years you think you got before you retire from drag racing?